overview of the Flame folders. Once you've downloaded the tarball and extracted it, you end up with a whole lot of folders like this. And I just want to run through and explain what the different folders do, just to give you a little bit of a feel for how the whole Flame structure hangs together. So, starting from the left, we've got core. You never really need to go into core. This is where the main part of Flame runs, where the daemons are and various other control structures. So as a user, don't worry about core. And the same with www. This is where the web interface is. So when you access Apache, this is where all the magic happens. So ignore core, ignore www. Docs. Docs are quite useful. We've got installing, where there's a whole lot of how-tos, how to install Flame on various different distributions. That's already been gone through on the how to install Flame. Licenses, well, Flame's under GPL v3, so there's your license text. Miscellaneous. This can be kind of useful. It's miscellaneous little hints and tips. For example, in Ubuntu 10.04 there's no sound in Firefox. Well, this is how to turn it on. There's also some web addresses, URLs for various websites that are useful. In particular, one that actually allows you to generate synthesized voices, which are very good for alerts, like the factory is about to explode or something like that. Sounds a lot more professional than you just recording yourself. Okay, miscellaneous. Widget templates. Okay. Flame uses widgets in order to create the graphical interface. I'm going to go into what these are in a lot greater detail a bit later on. But it's good to know that all of the templates for all of the widgets are in this folder. So, for example, you've got widgets that produce text, widgets that produce a horizontal bar graph, a vertical bar graph, a straight graph, an image, all sorts of different types of graphical widgets. But say we're going to those later. And then I deliberately left this one to last. DirectNet drivers. I know virtually nothing about this area. These are drivers which grab data from PLC controllers and actually allow Flame to use it. You need to talk to my good friend Guddy, who actually wrote some drivers, who knows all about this. Okay, so going back up. Right, under here, change login password.py. When you log into Flame, the default password and username is flame. By executing this in the shell, you can change the username and the password, so that's kind of useful. X's. Apart from a readme, that's going to be empty. Flame has the ability to execute scripts. These scripts can talk to PLCs, which can turn valves on, do all sorts of odds and ends, or just interact with the server itself. Any executables that you're going to be executing via Flame are going to be in the X's directory. Copying, general public license again. Images, again just to read me in images. When you're generating your web interface, you will be using probably quite a lot of images. Pictures of buttons, pictures of pumps, pictures of piping, all sorts of things. You would store those in this images folder, probably in subfolders depending on what section of Flame they're relating to. Flame RC. Right, this is kind of at the core of Flame. Some fundamental settings. If you're using LDAP, this is where you configure it. If you don't know what it is, or you're not using it, forget it. There's also a default backdrop color. When you log on to Flame, this is a default colour of the backdrop, which is by default black. You can change this, and you can also change it on a per screen basis. This will make more sense when you start to see the backdrop widget. But it's good to know that there is a default colour for the whole flame. From you right here, he says completely losing the plot. Also, and this is really important, you can change what port Flame's web interface is displayed via. By default it's 8090. If you do change any of these, you need to do a Flame restart in order for them to be actually implemented. Right, we've already gone through install Pi and uninstall Pi on the previous video, so I won't go through those again. We'll skip those for a second and we'll go on to sounds. Again, just to read me, if you have any alert sounds, bells, sirens, voices saying things, this is where you're going to put them, probably again in subfolders depending on what screen they're allocated to. Now these three, the input drivers, the PLC drivers and the screen drivers. The input drivers and the PLC drivers both have folders, but there is actually no difference between them. They both contain code which gets data into Flame. The reason they're in two halves is because sometimes you're going to be using PLC data which is specifically outside of the server, and other times you might actually be using server data or coming from anywhere else. So I thought it was good to split into two different folders. The functionality is identical. They provide data for Flame to work on, which will then affect what graphical interface what is shown on the graphical interface via the web page. Screen drivers. With the data collected from input drivers and PLC drivers, the screen drivers then define what happens on the web GUI graphical interface. I'm going to go into a lot of details about that in further videos, but just so you know that the input and the PLC drivers grab the data, the screen drivers display the data. And I think that rounds off the basic structure of Flame and what you need to know.